Hi, Mike and Arlen, our Philippine journey. Thanks so much for joining us. The single biggest point of failure for every foreigner and every expat or even tourists. Let's talk about it.
Why'd you have to go? I guess this world's too slow for you. I think there's beauty in the gray, the cold, but you just want the gold. And there's no way I can beat it, cause I got no chance, no chance when it comes to her. She got the glitter and the fame, and I just wasn't enough.
You know, here in the Philippines, there are many ways to fail. There are many ways to screw things up. But all of them have one thing in common. All of them. And we're going to just tell you point blank what they are. We're not going to screw around with it. It's communication. You see, what you say is nearly the single most misinterpreted thing that's out there. Could be you didn't pick the right words. Your own fault. Your fault for using the wrong words. Could be interpreting the body language of the person, the visual cues of who you're talking to. Could be that your tone, all right, it could be a lot of different things. But the bottom line is the single point of failure often comes with a basis of communication. Filipinos are raised in a totally different culture and environment, just like much of Southeast Asia. In fact, all of Southeast Asia. And this carries forward not just in the Philippines, but just about everywhere, where, for instance, confrontation. Filipinos despise confrontation. So if your voice is raised, if you present in a manner that is confrontational, you've already put them off. You've already lost. It is literally going to be ignored of having any importance to them. They don't care how upset you are. All right? That's not how they communicate. Yelling, raising your voice, they'll just smile and whatever. Now, in relationships, this also plays an important point. All right? You need to learn how to communicate in a manner that they find acceptable and that you find acceptable, because you can't just turn that switch off. You can't just say, this is how I communicated for 30, 40, 50 years in my own country. I know what I'm doing. I'm smart. I'm educated. I can blah, blah, blah. You bet you can. And they just won't understand a word of it. It is, try to remember, it's like talking to a child sometimes. You know, you're communicating to them, and 90% of the time, 95, maybe even 99 of the percent of the time, you're talking to them in a second language. And I don't give a shit that, English is taught in the school system here, and that it's mandatory. All right. It isn't that way in many other Asian countries. All right. But here, because you're watching this video, more likely what you're looking at. First off, the public education system is not that great. Second off, it is a second language. It's not an in-depth baccalaureate program in high school and junior high school. All right. You can sit down, do yourself a favor, sit down with your partner and ask them if they understand the difference between a verb, a noun, and an adverb. Just that simple. That's how you're speaking. That's how they're hearing, but they don't interpret it the same way. Communication is key. One of the ways, the most simplest way, would be, of course, to learn their language on a baccalaureate type level. You and I both know that is hardly going to happen. And then you've got to worry about all the different dialects. Okay? My wife speaks Tagalog. We live in a predominantly Tagalog population in Luzon. But she's from Mindanao, which is Bisaya. All right? And even her dialect of Bisaya is a little different than some others. So now she's grappling with multiple languages, which she does a great job of, by the way. All right. But my point with all of this is, instead of doing that, learn to read body language, the non-verbal cues. When you know, if you know your partner, you know when she understands what you're talking about. Don't take a moment out of your time to not explain slowly, patiently, all right, thoroughly, basically, using the basics, all right. Don't get me wrong. You know, like Arlene, for instance, she understands big words, okay, and even bigger concepts, but sometimes I have to take a few moments to describe what it is I'm actually saying. All right. I have to say, you know what this word means? This is how it works. They don't take offense to that, or at least Arlene doesn't, and none of the Filipinas I've ever spoken to do. Okay. You learn to read their body language. Learn to be an effective communicator, which is difficult, okay? This is not something you can do overnight, and it is not something that comes as second nature to many expats. It really and truly doesn't. Those of you that were masters in sales, you know what I'm talking about. Those of you that ran your own businesses and you had to communicate with customers and sell your products, that too, you understand what I'm talking about. Understand the concepts of body language, of sitting across from the table. Keep it humorous if you can. Keep it lighthearted if you can. Sure, there are going to be subjects that are going to be very complex. There are going to be subjects that matter. There are going to be subjects that are serious. But that doesn't mean that you can't communicate those subjects in a manner that they will wholeheartedly understand. All right? If many of you recognize, especially if you're in fresh relationships, you know, they'll say, yeah, oh, yeah. You're laughing, oh, do you blah, blah, blah. And they'll laugh along with you and have no freaking concept of what you're actually trying to get across. It happens. And they understand that. They know they're trying to learn, and they accept the fact that they may not have a complete concept. But you won't accept the fact that they didn't understand 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later said, we just talked about that. I told you, blah, 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 blah. That is the wrong way to address it. That is the absolutely wrong way. And it instills a lack of confidence and trust on both of you. You have got to be mature enough, responsible enough, and smart enough to understand language is a barrier that can be it can be overcome, but it has to be worked at. It is something you have to take care of. When it comes to all of the failures that we see, you see them on YouTube, you see them everywhere about relationships that fail. Most of them all start with communication. They're involved in a relationship for the wrong reasons. The goals for their relationships are not in alignment. The end results for their relationships are not where they both wanted to be. And all of that could have been hopefully avoided to begin with. The Filipino girls, women, people, they're not bad people. But you not being able to communicate with them in a language that they're 100% confident with is a disadvantage. And it is something that you can't blame them for. It's not your fault. You thought that they understood you, and so you continued down the path. You need to get that done correctly and absolutely. Otherwise, I don't know. You tell us, what do you think about it? All right, in the comments below, can you not share some of your experiences with this? Do you not think that this is an issue? We certainly do, because we see it. We've seen it. 10 years here, we know. We absolutely have seen it. You will too if you spend any amount of time here. In fact, you may also just be a part of it. So let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, please do subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and have a great day. We hope you're well.